Alrighty, y'all. We are live yet again. Just give me a second to get everything together here. Went live on a moment's notice. Alrighty, there we go. Should be good to go. We've got a debris signature here. Tornado on the ground out here in far eastern Iowa. So yeah, we've got a debris signature. As you can see here, we've got a pretty relatively small debris signature there. Nothing too crazy, but definitely a tornado on the ground for sure to the west of Charlotte, just to the southeast of Delmar here in far northeastern, east central Iowa. So make sure you are in your safe spot if you're in this tornado warning. It is still radar indicated. So this should be observed pretty soon from the National Weather Service, hopefully, as there is a tornado ongoing. So I will just go through here. You can see this is actually relatively strong. Surprised by that is very strong on that velocity signature. This is relative velocity, so this kind of correlates to where the radar is correlated to the storm. So it can be a little bit more accurate. But we're really looking at about this could possibly be a strong tornado here. And you heard another beep there. You may have just barely heard it. Hopefully that was them upgrading it. Doesn't look like that was the case, so that was for another storm. We've got two other tornado warnings here. One out here in southwestern Michigan, and then another tornado warning out here for Galesburg in Illinois. That beep you heard was actually a disextension of this tornado warning. They disextended it from Cameron and areas pointing to the west. We're going to go back up here, though. We should be getting a new scan shortly. There's a new scan. Hoping that is fallout, but we're going to wait until we get a velocity scan to see if we can confirm if that is fallout. But either way, definitely was or still is a tornado on the ground here. If it is still on the ground, it would be almost over Riggs in Iowa. That is in eastern Iowa. Yeah, that Galesburg storm has a lot of contamination, so I wouldn't be too confident on how much that is rotating. It's got a lot of contamination, not only because of hail, but mainly because this radar beam is scanning quite high up. But the big reason why, I think, really, they're equally the reason why is because that beam is scanning through so much rain and some hail on the northern side. And then again, the beam is scanning very high up. So this storm's been full of contamination left, right, and center here. We'll have to see if that very new scan is contamination. That's probably what you were saying there. That might not be. Rockets, you could be correct with that. I need to see a new scan. Yeah, this still could be a strong tornado. Potentially a strong tornado ongoing here northwest of Charlotte in eastern Iowa. Again, still a pretty tight couplet there. Most likely still a tornado on the ground. Just very, very close to, if not over Riggs in eastern Iowa. I do want to switch over to our analysis radar, because I want to see how high up this debris is being lofted here. Yeah, very deep CC drop, 2.5 thousand feet up here. So just under 3,000 feet up. Very deep correlation there. And that's lofting debris at least 3,500, 4,000 feet up into the atmosphere there. So most likely still a strong tornado ongoing. We'll switch back over to weatherwise again. Yep, still looks like, I mean, there's nothing that would say, there's nothing that would signify this is lifted, so still most likely a strong tornado on the ground. Trying to find, let me see. I don't want to switch off of this yet. We're gonna wait until we get a new scan here. It's coming around right now. So it'll be about 5-10 more seconds here. Hopefully. Yep, here it comes. So let's see which way this moves. There's your observed warning. That's looking a little bit more like fallout to me. But Still definitely some debris being either lofted or debris falling from the atmosphere there. Velocity scan not yet coming in here, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that. We'll have to see that velocity scan, see if that velocity gets any weaker, but still a good debris signature there. And you could see, yeah, this lofted debris at least 5,000 feet up. I can say that confidently. At least 5,000 feet up, this lofted debris, potentially even upwards of 7,000 feet. So between 5 to 7,000 feet up into the atmosphere there. Pretty, lofted pretty high up. Still a pretty good velocity signature right there. Still a pretty good velocity signature right there. So again, I do think some of this is fallout, but some of it is probably still debris actively being lofted. All right, let's refresh this again. Let's zoom out. Okay, we got a new tornado warning here. Which one's the new one? I think this is the old one, and I think this is the new one. So I believe this is the new tornado warning here in southwestern Michigan. So that is for Edwardsburg up towards Marcellus in southwestern Michigan. Actually, I believe that is tornado number 3 today. Pretty sure that this is the 3rd tornado of the day. Yeah, you could still see, again, pretty good couplet on this. A lot of this... So this could be this CC that you see right here. Some of this could be fallout. Some of this could be fallout, like the tornado has shrunk, and so it's not keeping all that debris into the atmosphere. Like, for instance, say it was a larger tornado and it's now starting to shrink. Some of that debris on the outskirts of the tornado may be away from the main wind field, so that debris could be falling from the sky. So some of this could be fallout, and some of this could still be active debris being lofted by the tornado. You could have a mixture of both in here, because that is still a good enough couplet to where a tornado easily could still be on the ground. And this is going to be going towards Preston, very close to Miles, and then eventually very close to Savannah. Savannah's on the border of Iowa and Illinois. And then we also have this pocket back down in here. This isn't rotation, but I've been seeing this for a few scans, and I wouldn't be surprised if we've got 60 to maybe 70 mile-an-hour winds here, getting very close to downtown. I believe this is Davenport, right? Yeah, Davenport. This is going to be getting very close to downtown Davenport. So watching those blue velocities closely as they go towards downtown Davenport. Yeah, and I don't know about this. This has been pretty consistent to where it may not be corruption. You see, that's pretty consistent for 3 scans. It was weak here, stronger, continuing to strengthen, and then kind of maintaining. So we'll need to watch that one very, very closely. Of course, still actively a tornado warning. And then once again, confirmed tornado. Confirmed tornado here up towards Preston. I'm thinking that's more of fallout now. Again, we'll see velocity. I mean, still that velocity is still tight enough for there to be a tornado. So a lot of this debris that you see here is probably fallout, meaning that it's debris being lofted by the tornado and is now falling down towards the surface. So we'll need to see if that velocity weakens shortly, but that is still pretty tight velocity there, like 90. That's almost 100 mile-an-hour velocity. That is 100 mile-an-hour velocity there, so that is still a pretty good velocity couplet. But I'm assuming that's going to break up next scan based on how much the debris has kind of dispersed. It's not as confined as what it once was, but still really good velocity. I'm still confident that this is a tornado on the ground and probably heading right to Preston. So if you're in Preston, Iowa, you need to run, not walk to your safe spot. I think you've got a tornado heading right for you. Looks like it's going right for Preston here. Let's see, if we do this, we do this, and then this. So you can see the track of this tornado here. Try to follow the center of that. I know it's hard, but you can kind of tell, roughly can tell that this is going to go through either, they're probably going to go through the eastern side of Preston, which unfortunately is where the bulk of the population of Preston, Iowa is at. Bulk of that population is on the eastern side of Preston. All right, let's go back to here again. So they shrunk the not the MCD, they shrunk the tornado warning. I think we got a new MCD. They shrunk the tornado warning here for Parchment in southwestern Michigan. So Kalamazoo and Paw Paw, you guys are completely clear. You guys are clear from that tornado warning. But if you are in Parchment or west of Richland Junction, Parchment, East Cooper, you guys all need to be in your safe spot. That is in southwestern Michigan. We got a report up here. I don't know if this is new. 8 minutes ago, wall cloud reported with this miniature storm here. Makes sense, because there is indeed a couplet there. So we got a chaser reporting a wall cloud with this storm. So if you are downstream of this, if you are in Durand, northern Illinois, it might be best to get in your safe spot just in case. Just get in your safe spot for like 5 minutes, and then this storm will be out of here. Just because there's a lot of lightning with it, there could be quite the amount of rotation, probably some gusty winds and some small hail with it. So I wonder if it is a special weather statement. I believe I have those turned off. Oh no, I have them turned on, so no special weather statement with that. But yeah, that has a definitely has some rotation with it. And like I said, Chaser reported a wall cloud. This far southern one has never really impressed me on radar, but it still could have some weak rotation with it here as it goes over Victoria and is new tornado warning now heading for Lafayette and Bradford in Illinois. We got another update. Not seeing that tornado warning. Okay, this one looks like the tornado's lifted now. Looks like the tornado is likely lifted at this point. Considerably weaker and considerably more broad. But man, that could have been a very bad situation because you could see that couplet is directly over Preston. So fingers crossed that lifted in time. Because if it didn't, you know, that would have been a tornado right through downtown Preston here. Yeah, it looks like that's complete fallout. I'm pretty confident that lifted as, or hopefully just before it went into Preston. You could see, again, a lot of debris fallout, though, so it definitely hit a lot of objects. That is a bunch of fallout. How come I'm always getting a message on my phone every time I'm live? It's like I rarely get messages unless I'm live. Yeah, that is a bunch of fallout right there. So let me see. There we go. So this would be the where we'd have probably the most damage, considering this is where the CC was the biggest. So if we just kind of do a little circle here, it'd be roughly in that area. Take off the radar. Looks like much of that is fields. Definitely some some population scattered through here, but hopefully that remained over relatively rural areas. And then again, you could see literally the fallout signature directly over Preston there. Hopefully it lifted before it went into Preston. That's a lot of fallout, though. That is a lot of debris fallout. Definitely the first tornado that we've been able to see very clearly from radar today. But we did have 2 other tornadoes. One was literally like right after I ended my first live stream. And then the second one was quite a while after that from the same storm. And then this was our 3rd tornado. Let's see here. New scan, still a lot of what I'm assuming is fallout here, because that couplet is very weak. Let me go see what Caden's talking about. Is this for the, is that for the tornado warning storm? Oh, is it for this one? This one right here? You said embedded, though. I'm not seeing anything clear, but I could be looking at the wrong area. The one I was just looking at, so I'm assuming you're talking about like this area here, because this is the town you called out. So you're probably talking about, yeah, maybe this. It's radar indicated, so no longer a confirmed tornado. Hard to see if that is anything. That really doesn't look like an embedded supercell. It just looks like the storm's starting to break apart. And the storm's, it doesn't have as well of a structure anymore on radar. Not as strong of a signature as what it had before. Signature being an area of rotation. But yeah, this one's died off, so a new one, I see what you're talking about there, because that velocity definitely has increased. I don't know about that, though, because I'm very skeptical about that, because that's not in the best spot. Looks like you've got part of the storm, because this was one big cluster. So you've got part of the cluster down here, and then part of the cluster up here, and then a little breakage in between, and that breakage is where you have your velocity couplet. Not sold on that one. But definitely we'll watch it just in case. Mount Carroll, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm assuming that severe is for the storm in Mount Carroll. We've had some severes and tornado warnings overlap each other's storms, so warnings have gotten a little confusing on which storm is what warning. Or what warning is for what storm. Especially with this cluster, as that prefrontal supercell was being hit by the cluster. It was definitely confusing to figure out where the tornado warned storm was. Oh, and look at that. They did put a Tor possible severe on our storm out here that had a reported wall cloud with it. You could see it still has a good area of rotation there. So if you are in that new severe, that's for Janesville, Milton, Edgerton, Footville. That's a name. Orfordville in south central Wisconsin. Make sure you're away from doors and windows. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to be close to your safe spot just in case we get a tornado warning. eventually downstream here. But no need to worry about an imminent tornado yet with that, but definitely something that I'm going to be watching closely because that does look like it's starting to form a hook there. But you do have a little bit of a cell merge behind that. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's go back to Michigan. We lost one tornado warning, thankfully. So no tornado warning in effect for this storm anymore. No warning up there. Our only tornado warning in Michigan is for the southwest storm, which still not very easily could be corruption. Yeah, most likely that was corruption. That's why I had to switch radars. But we still could have a little area of rotation here. It just looks like much of that is clear air corruption. So just be in your safe spot there. You'll be fine as long as you're in your safe spot. And still don't really know what's happening with this guy over here. Rotation looks to be non-existent. But the supercell structure almost looks like it's improving a little bit. Kind of looks like a wrong way facing supercell. That's what it looks like to me. Or almost a wrong way facing supercell. Ooh. See, now that's the stuff that catches my eye right there. Hold on. I definitely want to watch that. I want to watch that very, very, very closely. These in kind of halfway embedded supercells can surprise you considerably. Halfway embedded, meaning the northern side of it is a complete semi-discrete storm, but the bottom half of it down in here is more embedded because of that messy cluster behind it. So it's like a halfway embedded supercell. So watch that closely. I don't know how big of a threat it's going to pose because today's supercells that look like supercells often haven't done much. So I'm not overly concerned about it, but definitely going to keep an eye on it just in case. All right, let me see here. Let's see what else we got. I have a new meso-analysis coming in pretty soon. That's going to be very, very useful. Northern end of the line is starting to... Oh, I wonder if the northern end of the line is about to start meso shedding. Okay, what's that mean? That could be one of two things. We're not done with the 10 sig tour yet. We're still in the 10 sig tour, but what Jake said on that one. There's a few areas to watch around this region that, you know, you just want to monitor just to make sure they're mainly just like wind and not actually trying to produce tornadoes here. So just a few little areas to keep an eye on as those storms head towards a radar dead zone, per usual. Yeah, and like I said, still with this storm in Lafayette, like you've got velocities here, but they're not really coming together. Now they could be towards the surface. That, you know, that could be misleading. Remember, Our mid-level varying is actually worse than our lower level varying. At least according to soundings that I looked at, 45 minutes ago. But we'll look at new ones here in 15 minutes when they come in. So plenty of stuff to keep an eye on. But I don't think any of these are actively producing a tornado yet. I say yet quite boldly there. Looks like corruption, but sometimes these can look like corruption, but what it is the corruption is more towards the mid-level, and then towards the lower level, it's actually properly rotating. But I think some of that, especially that eastern side, I think a good chunk of this is going to be corruption. But some of it could also simply just be inflow. Yeah, I don't disagree with an extension. A new tornado warning there. And that also could be not only an extension, but also because we do have a little area to watch here, too. I'm sure it's mainly an extension. 10 miles northwest of Three Rivers. That town sounds oddly familiar. 10 miles northwest of Three Rivers, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour, located over Marcellus. Yeah, so that is definitely an extension for this area to watch here. But I would also keep an eye on that second area to watch right there, just in case. But that tornado warning is, according to the warning, fully because of this storm here in Marcellus. Again, this is in southwest Michigan. All right, back over here again. Looks like our tornado warning storm that produced at least one tornado is starting to die out here. Welcome to the stream, Legacy. Glad to see you. All good for missing the first stream. All good about that. That's fine. Also about tomorrow's live stream, I found out I have stuff planned tomorrow, which I didn't realize until not long ago at all. So I'll try to be live. I was going to try to be live at 3 o'clock Eastern, but I'll probably end up trying to be live about 4:30 Eastern instead. So I will be about an hour later than I thought. So just a heads up there. Tomorrow's live stream's probably going to be about an hour and a half later than I anticipated, but I'll still be live tomorrow. And there you go. The storm that I've been pointing out for a hot minute here, ever since it got that wall cloud report. Now tornado warned. How am I feeling? I'm feeling better than 2 days ago, and a little bit better since yesterday. But like I expected, this is probably going to be one of them annoying long duration sicknesses that are they're just annoying. You know, they don't keep you down. It's just like, why is my nose stuffy? Why am I coughing everywhere? It's one of those. It's not like the flu or COVID that like can put you down for days or even a week plus. But yeah, we got a tornado warning here for Janesville in southern Wisconsin. Make sure you're in your safe spot. Area to watch is back here, actually, towards Newark. Roughly in here is the region to watch. Moving up to the northeast. So make sure you're in your safe spot. Janesville, Anderson, Milton, in south central Wisconsin. That storm is capable of producing a tornado. It is officially tornado warned, which means if you were close to your safe spot, now you got to get in your safe spot, because now that is a tornado warned storm. It is for over 3,000, or my bad, actually, that is the wrong warning. I apologize. Gracious. This is for over 76,000 people. Over 76,000 people in this warning. So this is a very populated tornado warning right here. Very, very populated. This is the tornado warning I accidentally read off here. This one here for Bradford in central Illinois is for just over 3,300 people. Gracious day. I opened my wait, hold on a second. I wonder if I can. Nope. I opened my my live streaming stuff last because I was actively watching the threat. So instead of my live stream tab being the first tab on Chrome, it's actually the third tab that's open because I have 3 monitors, so 3 different tabs open. So when I go to hover over Chrome, it's the third tab, not the first one. Misclicking left, right, and center over here. Surprised I didn't upgrade this severe thunderstorm warning. We have a observed. Man, you just had to measure that exact wind gust. You didn't go 1 mile per hour lower or 1 mile per hour higher. You just had to do it. You just had to do it. You're supposed to leave that meme in the big 25, not bring it over to 2026. Well, we had 68 minus 1 mile per hour observed wind gust here. So make sure, honestly, make sure you're indoors, away from doors and windows. And honestly, I'd be close to my safe spot here in Dixon for multiple reasons. I think someone, might have been Caden, talking about Sterling. I'd be in my safe spot not only because this could actually be producing near 70 mile an hour wind gusts as it moves up towards Dixon, Oregon, and surrounding areas, but also be in your safe spot because this could potentially produce a tornado in the future. I don't think it is imminently going to be producing a tornado, as we just got 2 more beeps, but I do think it could potentially increase in the opportunity to produce a tornado. So you don't have to be in your safe spot just yet, but I would be very close to my safe spot, again, because if there is 70 mile an hour winds, you're going to want to be in your safe spot. And not only that, this could end up needing a tornado warning in the future if it continues to intensify. Yeah, there's that new tornado warning, which I'm not surprised about because, well, it's on the edge of the first tornado warning. So we've got 2 tornado warnings overlapping each other pretty well here for south central Wisconsin. Because our area of rotation is right down in here, moving to the northeast. So there's a chance it moves outside that first warning box and goes closer to the second warning box. A little bit of a mistake. You know, they just simply didn't issue a big enough tornado warning. No big deal there. Just a quick correction. But that's looking better every scan. But again, you do want to note the significant side lobe contamination right in the inflow there. So not all of that velocity is actually true wind speeds there. Why do these look exactly the same? Okay. Looks very close to like the same 2 scans right there. Very, very close. Oh no, the storm's gone. Look at that. Just disappear. Oh, never mind. I love when Weatherwise does that. I find it funny. I'm just waiting for the day somebody sees that on their own radar software and they start tweeting it, saying like it's man-made weather or something. I was talking to Lucky about that the other day. Because, you know, any type of glitch in a software, that group is going to start hooting and hollering about some contrails or something. They will. Tiniest glitch possible. One of those beeps you heard, you know, the first one you heard was this new warning here. out for just south of Janesville, but Janesville's included in that first warning. That's confusing. Yeah, that new warning was kind of a southern extension there. But the second beep you heard was the extension of this one for Marcellus. Just under 1,400 people in that warning. Let me see. Just make sure this is the same. Are you talking about the tornado warning storm for OCC drop? I don't think you're going to be able to see a good CC drop on this unless it's producing a strong tornado, because we're most likely scanning roughly 4,000 feet up, roughly 3,000 feet up here. The biggest tip for spotting CC and seeing if it's a tornado is note how far you are from the radar. If you are very far from the radar, so like if you're more than about really 30 miles, like 30 miles is where it's a really good CC scan. But then you start to get further out than that, and it becomes quite a problem. So we can look like right here, we're obviously like just a couple hundred feet up from the radar. But once you get to roughly about right in here, how far is that? Roughly 30 miles. Once you go roughly 30 miles, gracious. Yeah, 30 miles. Once you go roughly about 31, 32 miles, you're going to be looking at about 2,000 feet up. Thought I said it vice versa, but then I almost said it vice versa. Almost said it opposite. But yeah, when you're about 30 miles away from the radar, your radar beam's looking about 2,000 feet up. And that's when it starts to become a little bit more inaccurate. And then 3,000, 4,000, that's when it becomes very inaccurate. So that's when you're looking at, if we go ahead and go out here, that's roughly 50 miles. 50 miles plus, and you're looking at, it's getting very inaccurate. And then once you're greater than about 4,500 feet, the radar is going to be extremely inaccurate. And that's about 60 miles away. So again, 20 miles away or 20 miles away or closer, that's going to be really good for a radar beam. 30 miles, you're getting a bit inaccurate. 40 miles, you're getting pretty inaccurate. 50 miles, very inaccurate. All right, let me get this thing out of here. Get this thing out of here. Yeah, so we should have a tornado warning on this. I don't know what the NWS is waiting for. This should have been warned a long time ago. Back when I pointed it out and you guys pointed it out over Sterling. Hopefully that was it. That beep. There she is. Thank you. Thank you, NWS. Appreciate it. Huh. Now that... See, we are far. We are far. So if you take your measuring tool here, you go out. That is 50 miles. That's when you're starting to get really inaccurate. We're looking about 4,000 feet up. And you know what that is? We are where the beam is inaccurate. 4,000 feet into the atmosphere. That is a debris signature. Which means this is probably already a strong tornado. If you are able to see a deep blue CC ball indicating a tornado, and you're 50 miles away, that's most likely going to be a strong tornado. So this should already be a confirmed tornado warning now. Like I said, it should have been tornado warned way back here when I called it out, back towards Sterling, when that velocity started to pick up. Man, I called this out a long time ago. Remember I said to watch this storm? I said you always want to watch these sneaky halfway embedded supercells. And I explained how it was halfway embedded because the southern side was the cluster, the northern side was like semi-discrete. Yeah, I called that out a long time ago. And there you go. It's observed. Okay, I can't be... I mean, the NWS is on top of it. NWS is on top of it right there. They just put radar indicated on this literally like 2 minutes ago, and they just upgraded it. Typically, we don't see those upgrades happen so quickly. There you go. Still a CC drop, so still most likely a tornado ongoing. The next thing you're going to want to watch for is to see how high that debris gets lofted. So it's not, right now, it's not being lofted 6,000 plus feet up into the atmosphere. But those velocities are still pretty strong. And you still have a big ZDR drop. Look at the big ZDR hole right here. Big ZDR hole. Big spectrum width, too. So this could easily be a big tornado if it continues on its track here and continues to intensify going towards Grand Detour? I don't know if that's how you spell detour. Grand Detour. Just north of Dixon in Illinois. Let me see here. Yeah, no reports yet from around the Davenport area with this region I was concerned about for 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. Hopefully that weakened as it got closer, because you could see, there was definitely some moments where this looked like a pretty strong 70 mile per hour downburst here. Hopefully it weakened once it got into the city. Now that's a little bit harder to spot. I can't say if that is or isn't a tornado right now, but be in your safe spot, because either this was a tornado or it still is a tornado. So either way, be in your safe spot if you're in that tornado warned area. So there's the question right there. That's our either fallout or a continuation of our tornado. But just be careful when looking at this, CC. That was definitely a very easy call for sure. When you get a big, deep blue CC like that, that's an easy call. But you got to be a bit more careful with CC drops like this. That I would not be so quick to call a tornado, because you got to note you are looking 3,500 feet up into the atmosphere. Also got to note that you have a large area of extremely heavy rain, if not hail, at that point. So this would have been hard to call a tornado, but then that next scan, very easy to call that a tornado. Now it is impossible to say what's happening. You can see our range folding. Our range folding starts right here. So beyond this, it is an extremely inaccurate radar beam beyond that range folding. Actually, that's not the full range folding. My bad. My bad. That's the edge of the storm. That's actually not the range folding. Apologies. The range folding is much further out. For a second, I thought that was the range folding. Let me show you where the range folding is. The range folding is about 100 miles out. So, yeah, we're pretty far from that. Once you get 100 miles out, you should, like, really not even be looking at the radar at that point, because it's going to be extraordinarily inaccurate. Reflectivity does an okay job, even if you're that far away, but, like, velocity and CC, they're completely useless 100 miles out. The only in extreme cases can they provide some information, and that is like one of the more recent cases I could think of is the London tornado last year. where we literally could see debris. We literally could see debris by or from a radar site that was scanning, 100 miles away from the storm. And it was scanning like 10,000 feet up into the atmosphere. So only when you're looking at like extremely, extremely violent tornadoes is that's going to be useful. Let's see here. Wonder if any storm chasers have been pulled over yet today, because I know there's been a lot of speeding committed today in Iowa. From what I've heard, those Iowa State troopers never mess around. Wonder how many tickets they've given out today. I just was thinking about that because I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter complain about people speeding. Only way how I'm going to complain about speed is if like somebody is going a ridiculous amount over. Because if you got a license, if you have your license, there's an extremely high chance you've sped yourself. I think pretty much every adult with a license has sped at some point. At least in the US. I know they're more like towards I think the UK. The UK, the speed limit is actually the limit. Like, you're barely going to see anybody go over the speed limit in the UK, but here in the US, we're always like 5 to 10 over. What was that other area I was watching here? Oh, yes, this area right in here. There we go. Right up here, south of Sterling. I would keep an eye on that as well. I think, yeah, Rockets pointed that out. I didn't even know this is the town Rockets called out. But yeah, I agree with Rockets on that. Keep an eye on that. That definitely could be a new area of interest here as that goes up towards Harmon, south of Dixon in Illinois. Our previous storm that produced a tornado, possibly a strong one. I didn't see it loft debris greater than 6,000 feet, so hopefully it was a relatively weak one. But those velocities were definitely pretty strong at one point. Thankfully, it looks like when it was its strongest, it probably went over this open field here. Hopefully it didn't hit those houses and or farmsteads. But yeah, you could still see you've got a pretty large amount of rotation still present here. So I would expect a new tornado warning pretty soon here for areas near and south of Oregon. The good news is, though, this is becoming very, very messy. Hopefully that will help decrease our tornado threat here. Hold on. I think there's a road in Germany that doesn't have a speed limit. Isn't that like the Autobahn or like an Autobahn or something? That might be like a bucket list item for me. Bucket list item, go over there. No speed limit. I've heard about that quite a bit. I want to say it's like an Autobahn. So you're in East Central Illinois. You've already gone through round 1. That was all this heavy rain that possibly hit you about roughly an hour and a half ago. That may have stayed to your south, though. I'm not for sure if that stayed to your south. And there will probably be a round 2 later tonight. Let me see here. There will probably be a round 2 later tonight, roughly at like a 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, somewhere right around there. With some more moderate to heavy rainfall, some lightning, maybe a bit of gusty winds. And there is a chance for a tornado outside of that second line that's going to roll through this area here. But the chance that a tornado hits your area with that second line is unlikely. I think the best chance for a tornado with that second line is going to be back towards St. Louis. Still watching this area closely near Harmon, again southwest of Dixon. Cinnamon bun. Of course you're thinking about food, Pez. Pez just sent me a message. What could bro possible be doing live? Pez, I think you need to go back to school, buddy. I think this spring break is taking a toll on your grammar. Ah, dang it. Why did I move my water bottle that far away? Hold on. Apparently I was stupid enough to move my water halfway across my room. There we go. 2 bottles down. 1 more to go. Is this a new warning? This looks like a new warning. It's not a new warning, it's just a disextension of a previous warning. That looks pretty good, though. That looks like it's been increasing in velocity. Yeah, watch that closely. Keep an eye on that. Definitely want to be in your safe spot if you're in Brimfield, Illinois. But we'll need to watch that very closely. That velocity is slowly gotten tighter with time. So want to monitor that closely. Where that at? Hold on, let's go back up to Wisconsin. I don't know where that beep was from, but we got a report up here of a wall cloud 6 minutes ago. Huh. I can't tell if we got a bad radar beam or what here, but something happened. I don't know if the storm fell apart or if the radar is bugging out. Well, either way, be in your safe spot here in Milton. Hear that loud one beep? You're in Milton, down towards Johnstown Center in southern Wisconsin. Be in your safe spot. We had a wall cloud reported with this active tornado warning. Why is everything beeping all of a sudden? Well, that is side lobe contamination. If I've ever seen it. Look at that, how you're just light blue, light blue, light blue, very dark blue, light blue, light blue. Definitely some side lobe going on there, but once again, I don't think it's all side lobe contamination. Some of that is probably still inflow to the point where this storm is still very much capable of producing a tornado as it goes towards Galesburg. I combined heads and Galesburg. Wow. I swear, everyone and their mother wants to message me on my phone when I go live. Okay, well, I take that back. That's my dad. I actually got 2 messages that I didn't see. I got a second one I didn't realize. I use Do Not Disturb when I'm live. Discord does it automatically, but my phone I don't, just in case my parents need something. Last thing I want to do is ignore my parents while I'm live streaming. But yeah, this storm does look better. You can see a lot more of a curvature look to it. Definitely has some inflow. For sure. So that's getting pretty strong. I wouldn't be shocked if this drops a tornado shortly. Give me a moment. Okay. I think that Michigan storm is probably the most impressive right now. Yeah, they went ahead and got rid of the tornado warning up here for Dixon in Illinois. I don't disagree with that. It still poses some tornado threat, but it looks like that the storm overall has gotten more clustered, so it's probably less of a tornado threat now. But I would watch the southern storm south of Dixon, but even that one still looks quite a bit messy. All right, let's take a quick break of the coverage. Let's go to meso-analysis. Not necessarily talking about the future here, but just to see what our storms are in here with this environment. Okay, hold on. Let's see if that's a new warning. Okay, both radar indicated. So, definitely a more elevated profile down towards St. Louis. Pretty good. A pretty good environment. Back up here, not on the surface low, but just barely out in front. So there's our surface low. Gracious day, help me find the cold front. I could barely see the cold front. Honestly, I really can't even see it. I would just assume it's near the instability axis. And then your warm front, I could spot the warm front a little bit easier. Back down in here. The warm front is considerably more easier to spot because your winds go from southerly to northeasterly and to southeasterly. So warm front, easy to spot. Cold front, not very strong, not easy to spot whatsoever. And it just looks like what's, do we have 700 millibar here? Yes, we do. Yeah, not strong forcing in the mid-level. Yeah, your trough is displaced. See, that is what I was thinking would help underperform this threat. So your highest mid-level wind speeds here actually displaced into Iowa. Or not Iowa, Indiana. Indiana, Michigan is where your greatest wind speeds are out of your trough. And you can see here, your greatest affluence is also displaced down towards that same region. That 700 millibar displaced back down into northwestern Indiana. Your 500 millibar, maybe a little bit too far to the north. That low pressure has definitely shifted further to the northeast. It's not as far south as I was thinking. It's still in a good spot, but I don't think that's something that would help over or underperform today's threat. I think that's close to where we expected it, maybe just a little bit more north than what I expected personally. And this is what's fueling today's threat. This is what's really helping today to do something. That lower level jet. A big old 50 to 55 knot lower level jet out here. That's what's helped today's event be tornadic. Plenty of lower level wind shear. Mid-level wind shear should still be present. Yep, definitely present. But what about that veering? Is that veering still an issue? Take a little bit more of a northern one here. Yeah, still a bit of an issue. This is the 700 millibar right here. And you can see, let's see if I can zoom out for you. Take a new one. You can see, once you get to that 700 millibar, and even above the 850 millibar, there's just not a lot of turning with height. You can see you start with southerly winds and then turn to southwesterlies, but then you just stay southwesterlies the whole time. So there's not a lot of veering with height. Plenty of wind shear, and again, especially in that lower level, S tier lower level, but like a F tier mid level. So that's why these storms are more miniature, not as robust as typical supercells, but I don't know, they don't seem too miniature to me, I'm gonna be honest with you. They seem pretty dang pretty big. Now see, like, this is a little bit more of a miniature supercell here. And this is kind of a messy cluster, but you could still make out, you know, some embedded supercell structures trying to form. Depends where you are in southern Wisconsin. If you are, like, in and around the Milton area in south central Wisconsin, it's best to seek shelter just for another 8 more minutes, and then that tornado warning will expire. But if you're back over here towards, like, Monroe, back towards, like, Middleton, town of Springfield, Dane, Ridgeway, southwestern Wisconsin, just be away from doors and windows and you'll be fine. Just don't go outside, be away from doors and windows. So it depends. Are you in these yellow polygons or are you in the red? The purple is a tornado watch, which means just simply watch out for severe weather and watch out for the potential of tornadoes. There's the possibility of tornadoes, and a warning means a tornado is imminent or possibly even on the ground. Ooh. I could see this going very bad. I'm going to get a new analysis radar open for that storm alone, because it doesn't look good. And it is turned sharply. It's riding the warm front, isn't it? I bet you it's riding the warm front. I bet you this stupid Michigan storm's riding the warm front just like the other ones from last month. Let me get this open. Let's see. Ooh, it's like on the edge of it. The warm front is right here. That's where your warm front roughly is. And then you have sea breeze is probably what's helping to push part of the warm front back. It's just keeping instability back. But your main warm front is actually still to the north. So even though you don't have cape that's connecting right here, your warm front is still north of that area with lesser cape over the lake. And where's your tornado warning storm? I forgot. How do you turn on warnings on this? Nope. There you go. Yeah, see that red box right there? That's your tornado warning. It's literally like on top of the warm front. It's literally on top of the warm front. But it should pass the warm front here in like 15 to 30 minutes. So once it gets past Battle Creek, it should die out rapidly. Like how all these storms have up here. But for another 15 to 30 minutes, as this heads into Battle Creek, this could produce a tornado. And I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado with it either, if it can really ramp up. So we'll need to watch that very, very, very closely. New tornado warning for Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, Whitewater, Fort Atkinson, Sullivan, Concord, Farmington. Make sure you're in your safe spot. I don't believe this is actively producing a tornado, but it very well could in the future. So make sure you're in your safe spot, because this storm could easily produce a tornado at any moment. This stuff, I'm kind of surprised this is still tornado warned down here, but you know, we'll watch it just in case. So biggest concern right now is this storm in Battle Creek in southwestern Michigan, as it is attached to the warm front. Like I said, once it passes that warm front here, and hopefully 15-30 minutes or sooner, then this storm should rapidly fall apart. Assuming it doesn't continue to ride the warm front. Let's see. New HRRR should be in soon. I still want to see if it has those storms in central Michigan at like 9-10 o'clock being a problem. I'd assume it does, because they should still be a possibility. Very strong velocities, but I'm still thinking it's going to be contaminated to some extent. Severe in Indiana. Little notch. Gracious day, that's a lot of blue. A lot of that is probably overdone velocities there. But yeah, this actually, I wouldn't be too concerned about this tornado-wise. Okay, you're talking about down here. Ah, okay. See, now that I see what you're talking about with that. On the far northern end up here. And maybe even down here a little bit. Both to the southwest and to the west. Yeah. No instability. But because storms are already well established, and the reason why is, again, because of the mid-level forcing at the 700 millibar. It lines up absolutely perfectly with those severe storms in Indiana. They're still going to be able to be severe. And because they're able to be severe and established, and we know that there's at least some wind shear here, I don't think there'd be a bunch. Yeah, it's not in the best amount of wind shear, at least for the lower level, but it is pretty good for the mid-level. Then, you know, we'll have the possibility for a brief tornado somewhere along either this line down in here in Indiana, or maybe in northern Indiana. But both of those, all three of those severes, big time wind, 60-mile-an-hour winds there. If that ain't contamination, that is insane. We have a few people from southern Wisconsin watching. Just to let y'all know here, this is the storm that's likely warranting those sirens across the Whitewater area, Milton as well. If you are in Milton, you should stay in your safe spot for just a few more seconds, but you are pretty much clear to come out of your safe spot. I would still recommend being indoors and away from doors and windows, because there's still a lot of heavy rain, some small hail, maybe some winds up to 50-60 miles an hour, but no tornado if you are in Milton. The main area for the potential of a tornado is now in Whitewater and back towards Sullivan. Right in this area as this storm is moving to the east-northeast. Now, the good news is I don't think there's a tornado actively ongoing, but the bad news is one could develop pretty soon. So definitely want to be away from doors and windows and in your safe spot just in case a tornado does develop. But I don't see anything like overly concerning with this. I don't see a tornado on the ground on radar, and we don't have any reports of a tornado on the ground yet. But you do want to just take that precaution and be in your safe spot just in case. I'm really starting to think this is just a full-on blob of full blob of corruption, bad radar data for Battle Creek, Michigan. Look at that, new severe thunderstorm watch for Indiana. All right, where's V? She's gonna pop in here in a couple seconds. She just saw the notification on her phone, unless she's asleep. But she just got put under a severe thunderstorm watch. See, she's out near, I think, around the Danville area. Somewhere around Danville. So I think this storm's going to miss her to the north. Hopefully stays off to her north. But yeah, that's a severe thunderstorm watch. Notice the tornado probability is 20%. So again, we can't rule out a tornado in this line. We can't rule it out. I don't think it's likely, but there you go. Tornado possible tag. This is the one Kevin was pointing out to me, and then I pointed out to you guys here. We've got these little areas to keep an eye on where we could see little notches form along the line where you have these little indents here, here, and especially that last one. And then also the potential for rotation back towards Russellville. So not an imminent tornado here, but something we'll want to keep an eye on. Still watching that Battle Creek one very, very closely. Chicago area, you're good. We're hoping that these storms die out before they get to you guys. So you're good for at least the next hour, but once it hits about 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, that's when you'll really need to watch for the potential of 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, and maybe a tornado. But we're hoping things will die out before they get to Chicago. Which most of our model runs, which attempt to predict the future, although they're not the best, most of them shows these storms dying out here in the next hour, hour and a half before they get to Chicago. Yeah, Critty, I think some of that's corruption. I really believe it is, because it doesn't look like a legitimate area of rotation. You can see on those newest scans it weakened considerably, because I don't think it was ever that tight. I do think there was rotation, but I don't think it was ever that intense. I think the radar has been overdoing those velocities. But I don't think, like, the tornado warning is still very much warranted. I don't think the tornado warning is, you know... I don't think the storm's not rotating. I just don't think it's rotating to that extent. Regardless, though, this storm should be dying out. It should be getting away from the more favorable environment. It shouldn't be long before that just becomes a heavy rain shower and nothing more. And yeah, this is just a cluster of damaging winds and small hail here. across central Illinois. Eventually, this stuff will begin to weaken too, and that probably won't take very long. I mean, they're in a decent environment, so we'll see what our new HRRR has here when it starts in 5 minutes. Even though it's not the most accurate thing, I'd still like to take a look at it just to see if it shows this line surviving. But yeah, this stuff, I'm surprised this stuff is still trying to be severe up here, because it looks very sloppy. Continued that tornado warning for Battle Creek for 24 more minutes. Wait, what got warned? Oh. Is this for a new area of rotation? I think it is. I think it's for that area of rotation. I think we've got a second area of interest for the potential of a tornado here. Looks like that is why they warned it. At first, I thought that was just a continuation of the tornado warning for Battle Creek, but it looks like there's actually a second area where a tornado could form, and that is moving very close to where the first area went. That's going to be heading right for... Looks like it should head right for... unfortunately, it looks like it's going right for Battle Creek again. Maybe off to the southeast of Battle Creek. Or barely to the south of Battle Creek. Yeah, it also has a slight contamination look to it, but I do think that it is rotating. Just often with these small supercells, radar tends to struggle a little bit more from what I've seen. Seems like radar sometimes overdoes the intensity of velocity. Watch Wisconsin. Let me see. Right here, yeah. Yep, I see what you mean with that. The good news is, though, is that there's a lot of storms in front of this, so all of this stuff is taking up the environment before these storms get to it. So the environment is considerably less favorable for severe weather by the time that storm you're watching in Orfordville, southern Wisconsin, actually gets any time to strengthen. By the time it gets time to strengthen, it's just going to probably go into that more stable environment. And that actually was a cell merge, so that's why that's still alive. If it wasn't for that cell merge, you could see how that line was starting to die out. And this storm barely had any lightning with it. And then the two merged, and it looks like a completely new storm. Looks like you've got an embedded hook echo in here, and you even got a hail core trying to form south of that. Alright, Legacy. I'll probably still be live by the time you get back. I should be here for probably another hour, a little more. Let me see. Southeast? Like here? I do see a little notching. You can see how these red velocities kind of curl up and in. Looks like they curl up like that. So it's a little area to watch. I don't think it's an imminent tornado. And yeah, the storm that originally hit Battle Creek, just like I expected, is dying out. This one's a little bit further to the south, so it's going to be able to survive a little bit longer before it passes that warm front. It might be even as long as 45 minutes before that gets up towards the warm front and passes that most favorable environment. So this one's got a little bit more time to work with to intensify as it goes very close to, maybe even into Battle Creek in Michigan. When does this expire? 8:45 Eastern. Because it keeps saying 1 hour, but I know that's not true. It's actually 48 minutes. All right. Let me go to, we got an MCD I don't think I showed you guys. Wait, let me make sure that loads. It ain't gonna. I'm gonna pull out my cheat code again. Sometimes this doesn't work though. Well, when in doubt, you can always just pull it up on here. Scroll all the way through the bunch of warnings that we have. And boom. That red mesoscale discussion. New MCD. I don't think you guys saw yet. All right. So 40% chance of a watch being issued. A few storms have developed and weakened north of I-70. Let's see. Air mass is largely recovered from the earlier day showers and thunderstorms, where clearing has occurred this afternoon. Effective shear near 40 knots has been noted, with stronger back level winds evident in surface observations across Illinois, supporting supercell wind profiles. If isolated to scattered storm development can occur and become sustained across this area, damaging winds and a tornado or two will be possible. Timing and convective evolutions remain uncertain, and trends will be monitored for a possible watch issuance sometime in the next few hours. A tornado watch or severe thunderstorm watch may be needed. So we could get a new severe watch or a new tornado watch, depending on which one, what hazards look most likely across that area you see highlighted in red. And that would include St. Louis. That's the additional development that I've been talking about for much of the day. Oh. Well, shoot. Is this the storm that we pointed out earlier? I don't know if that. I think that, yeah, it is. I forgot who pointed that out, but I know somebody pointed that out. I think it was Jake. Jake, the area you called out just got warned. Very interesting, though, because not seeing a lot of rotation here, honestly. This is not exactly something that would normally warrant a tornado warning, but You're under a tornado warning again, Milton. You just got out of your safe spot not but 5 minutes ago. And here you go again. Here you go again. You're in a new tornado warning for another storm. This one heading right towards Milton again. Now, this is not nearly as concerning as the first storm, but it still does have a very weak broad area of rotation and maybe a little bit of hooking happening here. If you don't know what the hooking is, basically it means that there's winds going into the storm and winds that are pushing out of the storm, so that can help create an area of rotation. And there was this should be an old report. It is not an old report. A funnel cloud was reported with this, apparently. Interesting. A funnel cloud was reported. So that, I'd have to imagine that report is what really pushed the NWS over the edge to issue that warning. Because they were already, they were probably already eyeing this area. They were probably already watching it, and then they received that funnel report and went, okay, yeah, this could produce a tornado. So they went ahead and issued that warning. Interesting, though, because that doesn't look nearly as tornadic as the first storm. Hold on, let me see what Critty's talking about. See if it's literally this storm. Nope. This one's further south. It doesn't have a lot of rotation, but there is an area to keep an eye on. You always like to keep an eye on the tail end Charlies, just in case. But this storm, this cluster, hasn't really been that good at sustaining mesocyclones. We had that one brief tornado, possibly could have been strong, but it hasn't been very good at maintaining any mesocyclones. I'd be watching this a little bit more for a better chance at a brief tornado, but the biggest risk with this is definitely that risk of 70-mile-an-hour winds right along the bow echo here as it pushes up to the northeast. It's not like a classic bow echo, but it's definitely got some bow in action with it. See Battle Creek here in Michigan. Still got that area of rotation. I still think some of that's side lobe too, but it is potentially producing a tornado, so make sure you are in your safe spot in Battle Creek, Michigan. A tornado is imminent or possibly even on the ground. Now that looks pretty satisfying on radar, I ain't gonna lie. Thankfully it's not very strong, but looks like a really nice line right there. Probably has a really cool looking shelf cloud with it, especially if you're closer to where there's lesser precipitation down here. Really good. Another is, I think that's the same one we looked at. Yeah, funnel report there. This one's the old one. Yep. Again, not really seeing much there. The main reason they warned that is probably because of that funnel cloud reported. Aw, they issued a tiny itty bitty mesoscale discussion for this area. Look at that. Tiny little MCD for these storms across the warm front. A tornado or two remains possible across the far eastern portions of Tornado Watch Issuance 90. But yeah, that's only going to be a possibility for just a bit longer here. for the next hour, probably till about 9 o'clock, and then all these storms are either going to be considerably weaker or north of the front. Yeah, there you go. Support supercell structures for the next hour or two. Or my bad. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That's not what it says. I can't read today. Continued to support supercell structures capable of an isolated tornado or two for another hour or so. Increasing lower level stability, meaning instability is decreasing, stability is increasing. So it's a more stable atmosphere, less favorable for severe storms. So a tornado or two for another hour or so being a possibility. Till roughly 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. I don't see anything impressive, to be honest with you. Nothing here impresses me tornado-wise. The Battle Creek one, I think, is still partially corruption, but that's the only okay area of rotation I see. Let's see here. I don't know. It's arguable if it's verified. We had two possible strong tornadoes, but none of them were like definitely strong. I didn't see any definitive, yes, that's a strong tornado for sure. We had two possible strong tornadoes. So I don't know if it's fully verified. I think the thing you gotta remember here, it's different. If this was a 10 sig tour like a year ago, this is not like the significant tornado risk from like a year ago. It's a sig 1 tour, so it's a different meaning. The significant risk from a year ago meant that there was a 10% chance for an EF2 or greater tornado every 25 miles of a given point. Much easier to understand, by the way. This is a 10% sig 1, which means there's a 10% chance for tornadoes every 25 miles of a given point, and the reasonable max intensity of any tornado is EF2. So the maximum intensity of a tornado is expected to be EF2. Big difference between max intensity of EF2 and the possibility of multiple EF2 plus tornadoes. So when you look at it from that way, from the SPC's outlook, the fact that they're both quite different, I think today has verified as a 10 sig 1. I think it has. So if we use the outlook legend from a year ago, no. If we use the outlook legend, which we currently use, obviously, then yeah, I think it has verified. We'll have to see about the southern side of this 5 sig, because this could end up verifying. We could easily see a tornado or two down here, and there is a chance one could be strong. We get a new outlook at 9 o'clock. Um, I think I will be live for that. Yeah. Yeah, I'll most likely be live for that. I want to just see a few more things here, keep an eye on a few more of these storms. But I'll probably try to make it to the 9 o'clock outlook just to see what they go with here. Watch them keep the 10 sig tour. I'm gonna check the new HRRR real quick. Yeah, new HRRR is not as confident in that tornado threat across Illinois anymore, which I figured would be the case considering we've seen more of a clustered mode with our storms in Illinois. Wouldn't shock me if we get a severe watch, though. Severe watch or a very low-end tornado watch. But I think today is tornado-wise mostly done. I wouldn't rule out another tornado or two at some point tonight. And I wouldn't rule out a brief strong tornado either. But I think our main event is done. I use College Dew Page for all my model runs. Unless we're starting to talk about hurricane season, and then I go to tropical tidbits. Okay. Let's see here. Two more minutes left on that warning. 32 left on this one. I still don't see much of a tornado threat with this. For like the next few minutes, this is going to pose a lot of lightning, heavy rain, and 40, 50 mile an hour winds. But I highly doubt there will be a tornado threat with that. I'm honestly a bit surprised it's actively still tornado warned. So be in your safe spot because it's still tornado warned, but just to calm your nerves around Milton, southern Wisconsin, just know that there's most likely nothing tornadic with that tornado warned storm, which is ironic. The tornadic portion of that is really died out. Jake, tomorrow is just I'm not impressed with tomorrow at all. I'm not interested. I do think we could see a brief we could see a few brief tornadoes, maybe a brief strong tornado across the warm front, but really tomorrow just looks like the classic slop fest. But I'll be live. I'll be live for probably an hour, maybe two. I'll see. It depends. I'll either be live at 4:30 or I'll try to go live a little bit later. I'll just see. What's horrible is I normally eat like right about 5 o'clock. So all these severe weather events like to pop off just before I can eat, just before I normally eat. There's V. She's later than I thought, but for a very valid reason. Hopefully your kid's all right. Good news is storm is definitely died out considerably. I think you'll be perfectly fine. The worst of it is actually way up in Lebanon at this point. So it might be a cool looking cloud right now, about to head over your house, but tornado wise, damaging wind wise, hail wise, none of that stuff. Just some moderate rainfall, maybe a little bit of gusty winds, like 10-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but nothing crazy at all. And this is a one and done day. It's everybody's favorite type of day, man. A one and done day. One round of severe weather, and then you're done. Now, there's going to be some moderate rain behind this, but that moderate rain won't be severe. Oh, pneumonia. Woof. I'm sick, and that's what I was really, really worried about. Because that's what my sickness has been, like everything involving my sinuses. So I was really worried about pneumonia. That's why I've been up and around. I haven't been resting. Aside from yesterday. Or no, aside from the day before yesterday. I only rested for like one day, and I'm like, I ain't getting pneumonia. Never had it, and I plan to keep it that way. Hopefully. Um, these storms. This should be with your second round. This should start forming your second round, all in this area, and it should just turn into like almost one big slop fest down here. And if some of that slop fest can get a little bit more organized, we can't rule out a brief tornado or two, a brief instance of 60-mile-an-hour winds, and maybe an isolated 1-inch hailstone. But they should stay relatively sloppy like this. So, yeah, I mean, you can keep an eye on him, but I don't think we'll see anything significant out of him. Hold on, let me go here. So you're under a tornado watch. This line is heading your way. It should weaken in the next hour, but if it doesn't, you're definitely going to want to be ready for 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, and potentially a tornado in about an hour from now. So I'm hoping that it will weaken right when it gets towards Chicago, but there is a chance that it doesn't. Matter of fact, I think Chicago, yes, Chicago was recently added to that tornado watch. So definitely keep an eye on the weather here in about an hour, but hoping that this stuff weakens on approach to Chicago. And go down more here. Janesville, Wisconsin, all clear. Some moderate to light rain persisting for the next 30 minutes or so. It will definitely pick up here in about 10 minutes. This batch of heavy rain is going to move over that way, but the rest of the day will be clear after that. Rest of the night. Now, it was pretty close, though, because there was a funnel cloud reported with the second tornado warning, and there was a wall cloud reported with the first tornado warning, basically meaning that the first one was rotating enough to potentially produce a tornado, and the second one nearly produced a tornado. So definitely a close call for Janesville. think you guys were under either 2 or 3 tornado warnings today. I don't think they will drop the enhanced because the enhanced is for wind and tornado. So I think they'll keep the 30% sig wind probably out for this area. And they'll drop much of that, the 10 sig tor. They'll probably drop much of that. But I think they'll still keep a 10 sig wind risk. Oh, wait, hold on. I missed that question. I just remembered it. More outbreaks possible in late April. Just wondering because I think it's possible. Of course. Of course. Late April always has an opportunity for a big outbreak. I think that's almost a given every single year. It really doesn't matter how your weather patterns are looking a few weeks or a few months in advance. Late April, you can almost guarantee there's going to be a threat for big time severe weather. Now, for the middle of April, I do think after tomorrow, which is Friday, I think we won't see much severe weather on Saturday. There's a chance for some isolated damaging wind gusts, and we'll probably get upgraded to a slight risk back up there in Pennsylvania. But tornado-wise, we probably won't see much after tomorrow. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I expect we'll see minimal tornado activity. And then once we get into Thursday, Friday next week, we can start probably talking about the potential for severe weather towards the end of next week. I think we'll be talking about an uptick in severe storms. I don't know exactly what days, but the end of next weekend, I think we'll be talking about the threat for severe weather again. Let's see here. Chicago really needs to watch out for 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1-inch hail. There is going to be the possibility of a tornado there in about an hour and a half or so, but I highly doubt we'll see like multiple tornado warnings. But there is a chance that we see a brief tornado near Chicago. But I highly doubt we'll see anything like crazy. I just wouldn't rule out a brief tornado somewhere along this line as it moves up towards Chicago. But the main risk is 60-mile-an-hour winds, followed by up to 1-inch hail. And then again, wouldn't rule out a brief tornado. Maybe a brief tornado or two. We'll have to see. But I'm hoping that this is going to start weakening here soon. Hopefully this is going to begin weakening. Which it really looks like it's already started weakening. There you go. We are down to 0 tornado warnings. No more tornado warnings, y'all. I think we'll at least get one more later tonight. It may be in southern Illinois, eastern Missouri with that slop fest, or like I said, it could be with the embedded line here, either the embedded line in Indiana, the embedded line in Illinois. Southeastern Wisconsin, I think, is the least area out of our severe threat. I think this area has a much lesser chance for tornadoes than in Illinois and Indiana, because this just looks like a big sloppy mess. And the warm front, looks like these storms are moving north of the warm front pretty quickly. Still a little couplet there, southwest of Charlotte, Michigan, but should die out. Yeah, so here's the HRRR for tonight. Again, that damaging wind threat continues. And I think this is pushing the threat too far north. I think this will be further to the south. So that damaging wind threat continues across far northeastern Illinois later tonight. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, maybe a brief tornado or two. That line across Indiana continues. And it should weaken here as we get closer to 9 o'clock. 9 to 10 should be when this starts to weaken in Indiana. And it should be completely weakened by 9:30, 10 o'clock. I think 10 o'clock this should be relatively close to subsevere, maybe subsevere about 10 Eastern. And then you get that slop fest threat back here starting up at 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern. Like I said, any storms that could be discrete, can't rule out a gust of 60 miles an hour, a hailstone of 1 inch in diameter, maybe a brief tornado with that slop tonight. So main threat is for sure done. The main threat is over. Your main risk is already concluded. But there is still the threat for multiple 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts tonight, multiple hailstones upwards of 1 inch in diameter, and we can't rule out a tornado or two just generally across our risk area. Go over Friday? I guess so. V, I think you're good, right? It should just be some rain left, and then I think you're good. It's just going to be a little bit rainy. There may be an isolated lightning bolt, but really that's it. You should be done. We'll take a look at that slop fest round here, see if it gets to you. Yeah, some rain very, very late tonight, early tomorrow morning. We're talking about like, what is this? Like 5 a.m.? But that should really only carry the threat of light to moderate rain. And then tomorrow, I just want to see if anything has changed here. It looks like it has uptrended a bit on the HRRR with the best environment. The environment pushed a little bit further to the northwest. That might help with that warm front threat. So the main region I'm watching for tomorrow is right along the cold front, warm front, right up in here. I think we could see a few tornadoes, maybe one strong 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, and 1 to 1.5 inch hail. That's the main area to watch for tomorrow. And then very briefly, only for about an hour or two, will our threat be, really peaking here in Kansas and Oklahoma. Really only an hour or two for a severe weather threat out here. Very sharp area to watch for just the instance of isolated 60 mile an hour wind gusts and 1 inch hail. Could see up to 70 mile an hour winds and up to 1.5 inch hail. But that would be with any embedded supercells inside of that messy QLCS. And then I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado. So like I said, pretty low expectations for tomorrow. I don't think we'll see anything too notable. But again, you do want to watch that warm front back up here. That's a little bit too far east. Yeah, right in there. And you see that environment gets pretty potent at sunset, but looks like everything's really turned into a slop fest by the time that environment peaks. So nothing can take advantage of it, really. I mean, shoot, you almost get into the 70s. 68, 69 degree dew points. Almost in the 70 dew points there. Ooh, your dew points are almost higher than your temperatures. Wow. That is something. Yeah, but I don't even know if tomorrow's worth an enhanced. I think that's pushing it. That enhanced is considerably large too. HRRR may be underdoing tomorrow's severe threat. We'll need to watch closely. But, I mean, we'll see. The NAM3K really shows that line being a lot stronger. Lasting a lot longer. Let's look at the RRFSA. Yeah, you can see that warm front, definitely a big hot spot there. So, yeah, it looks like the threat really pops off about 5 o'clock. 5 till, like, 10. 5 to 10 is the general timing for down in here. 5 to 10 for that biggest severe threat. 11 o'clock, 10, 11, everything starts to die out further south. Now, further up north in the enhanced risk, we'll have to see. If storms sustain, you know, they're going to start popping off as soon as 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. From 3 p.m. all the way until, like, midnight. But the thing is, if they don't sustain and it gets a little bit too sloppy, we may only see a brief 2-hour window between, like, 5 and 7 p.m. I think a more severe threat is more likely. I think the HRRR is underdoing things. I think the RRFSA and the NAM3K are handling that better. And I think the 00Z HRRR is probably going to correct to those solutions tonight. They increased the severe warning here to 70 mile-an-hour wind gusts. So make sure you're away from doors and windows and close to your safe spot. If it gets too rough, go to your safe spot here if you're in and around Yorkville, northeastern Illinois. So big wind threat tomorrow. Tomorrow is a big wind threat. Any semi-discrete storms would be a pretty good hail threat. We could get an isolated hailstone up to 1.5, 2 inches in diameter. And the tornado threat, I think really the tornado threat is going to be limited to southern Illinois. Or not southern Illinois. Southern Iowa. Gracious. Southern Iowa is where I think that main tornado threat will be limited to. Southern Iowa, northern Missouri. Let's see what NATOcast has real quick. Let's see. I believe I looked at it this morning, but I forgot what it showed. Yeah, that has a big 5%. And it's oddly in southeastern Iowa. So it goes from far west central Illinois through most of southeastern Iowa, and then even down into northern Missouri. NATOcast really highlighting this area for the biggest tornado threat tomorrow. Which I say interesting because that for sure favors the RRFSA and the NAM3K models for tomorrow. That is definitely not favoring what the HRRR shows. So I think the HRRR, hopefully, the HRRR will correct tonight. If it doesn't, then it's going to be a useless model run. Pez, what do you want to forecast for? Light rain? Let me go see. Yeah, so for those of you who aren't keeping up with the SPC outlook, we do have a day 3 marginal, both in the deep south and southwest Tennessee Valley, and then also back up into the eastern Midwest, into the Mid-Atlantic and western New England states. Let me just do a quick run through. I can tell you this. I think wind. I think wind. So if there's any embedded storms in here, you have the chance for some isolated hail up to 1 inch in diameter. Damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. I do think we'll see a slight risk in Pennsylvania, although I'm not sure if that will include the Pittsburgh pointing south areas, or if that will be for mainly the northwest side of the state. And I also think they should connect that marginal. I think that marginal should be connected to Mississippi. I think we should have, generally what I'm looking at here is one big marginal across this area. Maybe even a little bit more east, further into Pennsylvania and New York, and then a slight risk back up in here. And like I said, hail threat, conditional hail threat with any embedded supercells, mainly a wind threat. And then there will be the possibility for a brief tornado or two as well. I think we'll probably see a 2% tour. Yeah, Haley, you have a chance for tornadoes tomorrow. You're not in the main 5 significant risk. However, they may extend that further to the south. If that looks more probable for tomorrow, which a few models are picking up on. We really won't know till tomorrow morning because our main HRRR Model 1 is absolute garbage right now. So it wouldn't surprise me if this tornado threat, if you're only using the HRRR, it's probably going to uptrend. So expect probably a few people to freak out about the uptrend tomorrow morning, when in reality it's just the HRRR correcting towards other model runs. But yeah, I agree with that in enhanced risk. At first I was a little skeptical, but then I realized the HRRR is a outlier. So we'll see. But yeah, like I said, we're going to definitely stay here till the 9 o'clock update. We'll probably end shortly after that, because I don't think we're going to see anything too notable tonight. Like I said, brief tornado or two across the risk area is possible. Main threat is multiple instances of 60 miles an hour, maybe a gust up to 70, and then a few hailstones can't be ruled out up to 1 inch in diameter. That hail threat definitely peaked earlier today with that main supercell in southeastern Iowa. I believe we had 3-inch hail reported from that discrete supercell in southeastern Iowa earlier today. That was definitely the peak of our hail threat. So we'll wait for that 9 o'clock update from the SBC. Only 20 minutes away. You know what's weird? 2024 and 2025 was so crazy that it feels like this tornado season has done nothing. I feel like we haven't even had a good tornado event. I know we've had a lot of QLCS spam. I know about that. I know that. Believe me, I've tracked it. But it doesn't feel like we've had that notable tornado outbreak yet. There's no we have had, of course, very impactful tornadoes for sure. Tornado that went from east central Illinois to northwestern Indiana. Tornado that rode the warm front in Michigan, southern Michigan. So those were two very impactful tornadoes, high end EF3s. And then we had the EF2 spam in northwestern Oklahoma. But we haven't had that notable outbreak. Like, we haven't had a March 14th or March 15th. Oh, shoot. Here we go. We haven't had, like, March 14th, March 15th of last year, April 2nd last year. Look at the date. We haven't had that type of caliber of an outbreak yet. So, which is a really, really good thing. I'm just saying it kind of feels weird, honestly. It feels weird. It makes it seem like this year hasn't been crazy for tornadoes. Because we're so used to such high-end events. But again, I'm not trying to say the tornadoes that happened haven't been impactful. They definitely have. Just pointing out the fact that it feels like it's been a less active tornado season because of that. I guess a better way to put this would be, we haven't seen a violent tornado yet this year. Compared to last year, when I think we had... did we have 3 at this time last year? I want to say we had like 3 EF4s at this time last year. I know we had an absurd amount of significant tornadoes. I think April 2nd produced over 20 significant tornadoes. April 2nd, 2025, I think produced over 20 sig tors in of itself. And this year, I don't even think we've hit 20 significant tornadoes in the entire tornado season yet. So that would have been a better way to put it there. But we still have had 2 high-end EF3s. And I think the one in south central Michigan was just a few miles per hour off of violent EF4. So, we'll see. I think our best opportunity for big outbreaks was March, which, again, we did have 2 big-time QLCS spam events. And then we had that notable tornado again in northeastern Indiana and in northwestern Illinois. Or rather, vice versa. Northeastern Illinois, northwestern Indiana. And then the one in southern Michigan. March was very, very active. It was very active. I'm pretty sure it would probably end up being average to above average. If I put all the reports together. Because it definitely was quite active. And April, I don't think will be the same. I don't think April will be the same. April should be average to maybe slightly below average. And then May, you might as well just flush it down a toilet. Because, I mean, shoot, that thing is garbage. May does not look like good potential still. It should be below average to well below average. That doesn't mean that there won't be one random trough in May that ends up producing a huge outbreak, because all it takes is one good event, one really good event, and then a state could skyrocket to well above average tornado activity. June, I think June will be above average. And then July will be July. Things will probably still have a lot of severe weather in July, but the tornado threat will be a little bit lower. July will probably be a better wind threat. Higher wind threat in July, lesser tornado threat. And then August, well, end of July, beginning of August, your severe weather plummets quickly. Your wind threat still exists, but your overall chances for severe weather and tornadoes plummets rapidly at the end of July, beginning of August. That's when hurricane season normally starts to become a problem. Let's see here. Hundred tornadoes in March, averages 80. Yeah. I didn't say it was below average. I just said I didn't check all the reports yet, so it's average to above average. And plus, it's preliminary. I mean, even last year's preliminary tornado reports still. But yeah, I called, March was the only month that I called for an above average month. Well, March. Holy crap. And June. I did mention June will probably be above average, but between March, April, and May, the main three tornado months of March, April, and May, March was the only one I called to be above average. Sorry, I just realized the reason why I said holy crap. Got distracted. Look at the, let's go here. Here. Look at the wildfires. Look at that. Crazy wildfire outbreak. Is that not wildfires? Or am I crazy? There's not even a fire risk out over there, though. Maybe it's not, but it sure looks like it. No, that definitely is. Yeah, that definitely is. See all the red hot patches here? That's definitely wildfires. 100%. 100% wildfires. For sure. We do have a tornado warning up here in far northeastern Illinois, by the way. Just a little area of weak rotation. Just be in your safe spot. It's not a huge concern. It doesn't look overly impressive. Just be in your safe spot. You'll be fine. It could easily produce a brief weak tornado. So just be in your safe spot. So yeah. Like I said, we'll wait. We'll wait for that SPC outlook. Hopefully it's a little bit early. 15%? Heck no. Are you guys talking? You're not talking about no tornado risk, right? Hold on. Let me see. Let me just reread that. Oh, okay. Kevin was just simply stating the fact that I doubt we'll see a 15% tomorrow. Shoot. We ain't even got a 10%. What are you talking about? I don't even think we'll see a 10% toward tomorrow. Skip a 15. I'd be pretty surprised with a 10%. I think we'd have to see some pretty big uptrends tomorrow morning in order for us to need a 10% tornado risk. No, I think they'll keep the enhanced. I agree with the enhanced risk. Like I said, if you don't think tomorrow's an enhanced risk day, all you've looked at is the HRRR. Ah, you mean maintaining the enhanced tonight. Man, why you be switching days on me like that? Talked about tomorrow and then you randomly switched to today without clarifying it. Come on. I think they will. I think they'll maintain the 30% wind. I don't think they'll maintain the 10 sig tour. But I do think they'll maintain the 30% wind. Because I think that 30% wind is actively still verifying across this area. We still have two 70-mile-an-hour severes, a severe up here, and even a severe there. So I think they'll keep that. Kind of 50-50 on if they'll keep it, though. It's 2 a.m. Nah. Not here on the East Coast. $7:51 p.m. Man, I tell you, I didn't even notice the time change, really. When we traveled to Talladega last year, almost a year ago. Almost a year ago. Didn't even notice it. I thought it would like screw up my time a bunch. Nope. My sleep schedule was completely the same. I thought it was going to completely screw up everything. It didn't. The time change didn't bother me when changing from Eastern to Central Time, but now when we're talking about daylight savings time and that stuff, that screws me up. Um, no need for a tornado warning here in Milwaukee. All the rotation's very weak. Even the storm that was, or still is rather, tornado warned here in northeastern Illinois, I mean, that rotation is still broad and weak. Alright, let me go back over here. Gotta keep this up so I can see when the SPC issues their outlook. Or I'm gonna miss it. Yeah, that tornado warning is quite precautionary. I mean, it's not really a big area of rotation or anything very concerning. We'll stay live a bit longer. I was going to end at the, right when the outlook comes out, but I'll go live, or rather stay live a little bit longer. That way this tornado warning can just expire. We might see the first few frames of the 00ZH but I won't stay here for the full thing. It's 9 o'clock, and these storms, have they fired yet? They're firing, but barely. I mean, the HRRR says we should have like freaking 30 storms by now. Look at this. Here's the new HRRR. And it says we should have this many storms right now. You compare it to the actual radar. We only got two storms here. So, good old HRRR. Already nailed it. I mean, yeah, definitely nailed it. For sure. Totally. Wasn't sarcasm. Yeah, again, for those in and around Chicago, this line is your main risk here. The northern side of Chicago will be hit fairly soon, about an hour from now. But if you're well south of Chicago, like if you're out here towards like Frankfurt, it could be like another 2 hours before you guys get storms. But the main risk will be 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, a half-inch to 1-inch hail, and I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado. Main risk, though, by far is definitely wind. Definitely wind. Yeah, the HRRR is still wanting the risk for a brief tornado tonight again in and around St. Louis. So we'll see if the SPC maintains a 5 sig tour down there. All right, let's see. So that's no longer severe warned. Still a severe warning for Greentown for 18 more minutes in Indiana. As well as for just 2 more minutes here for Hudson, Indiana. Nothing left in Michigan, as expected. Once those storms passed the warm front, everything died. Went exactly how I expected. So, I'd say this event went relatively how I expected. It really nothing overly surprised me. If anything, it slightly was below my expectations. It wasn't. I think maybe we didn't have as many discrete storms as I was originally thinking compared to this morning, but relatively performed how I was expecting. Now we'll see how late tonight goes out there in southern Illinois and around St. Louis. See if something unexpected can happen around there or not. All right, SPC Outlook should be out any minute now. We'll see. Y'all remember too many risks. I forget like 95% of the risks I track. Like there has to be something very, very notable for me to remember. You guys are out here throwing dates all over the place and somehow remembering them. I'm like, what is going on? Right, the tornado warning still goes for 15 more minutes. We'll see. We'll see if they can just We'll see if they continue that or just allow it to expire. Any wish casting? You mean like looking 384 hours out on the GFS and seeing if my area is getting a severe threat? But yeah, like I said, we're going to be inactive for a few more days. After tomorrow, we'll be inactive for a few days. You know, Saturday, like I said, we'll see a little bit of severe weather on Saturday, mainly wind, small hail. I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado in western New York, northwestern PA. At least that's what it looks like on models right now for Saturday. But relatively tornado-wise, Saturday should be inactive. Sunday should be inactive. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all should be inactive. Thursday, we'll have to start watching on Thursday, but it should still be inactive. And then once we get to Friday and the weekend next week, that's when we can start talking about severe weather making a return towards to the U.S. I think late next week, next weekend, severe weather will return. But we should have like a solid 5-day break. I think Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will all be completely inactive. Now, things could trend a little bit sooner, so, you know, there's a chance that severe weather returns Thursday instead of Fridays, but we're generally looking at 4 or 5 days of very little activity in the U.S., at least severe weather-wise. Sunday through Thursday or Sunday through Wednesday. Oops. Hate when it does that. Try to hover to find a new tab and it just makes all my screens go white. There's a this extension of that tornado warning. Tiny little tornado warning for far northeastern Illinois, and I mean far northeastern Illinois, for 12 more minutes. Yeah, this line looks very weak. They have it warned for 70, but not really expecting to see wind gusts higher than 60, 65 miles per hour here. So just if you live in Chicago, you've got a 70-mile-an-hour severe. So before this storm gets any closer to Chicago, go outside, make sure there's no loose objects, make sure things are tied down. Bring your pets in if you have any outside. And once this storm begins to hit the outskirts of Chicago here in 30 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, just stay away from doors and windows. Don't go outside. You'll be perfectly fine. Let's see. All right, so that is northeast of Madison. You are, I think you're done for the day. Yep. I mean, you're still in a tornado watch, but you are done for the day. There's still rain on the far eastern side of the county, but yeah, severe weather's done out there. All right, let me go back over to here real quick. They dropped the enhanced. There you go. They dropped the enhanced risk. Still kept a 5% SIG tornado risk. That was still maintained. They did keep the 30% wind risk, but it is not hatched anymore. So if it was hatched, they would have maintained that enhanced, but it's not. And the hail risk was dropped to a small 5%. So they did keep a 2% for that conditional risk back down here in St. Louis, but they really don't think much is going to come from it. They did keep a 5% wind risk down there as well. So I don't think there's going to be much left tonight then, since they didn't really keep the slight risk down here and the main tornado risk down there. So I really think the only thing to watch now is just these storms in Chicago as they go into Chicago here over the next 2 hours. Everything else really should stay on the weaker side of things. So really only watching these two storms. And I believe, I don't expect them. I don't really know why they have a slight risk all the way to eastern Michigan. But I don't really expect them to intensify or stay severe even until western Michigan. So I don't really know why they've kept such a large slight risk. For today. That's the incorrect outlook, by the way. That's the correct wind outlook. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the only area that really we need to watch is right in here for the next 2 hours. And everywhere else is just isolated chance for severe weather, so. Yeah. Let me see the HRRR00Z here. Yeah, like I said, this line moves through, and then once it passes Chicago, starts to weaken. And then we just have an isolated chance for severe weather and a brief tornado down here. And then as these storms move back into Michigan, a brief tornado and an isolated instance of 60-mile-an-hour winds can't be ruled out. But I don't think it's worthy of a slight risk for Michigan. So that's why I'm a little surprised they kept that. So again, for those of you who didn't see the new outlook, there it is. They've kept the 5 hatched tornado risk for the northern side of our risk area here. Wind risk, again, the main risk is going to be across the coastal areas of Wisconsin and around the Chicago area. And then can't rule out like 5% hail risk here, which is 1-inch hail, roughly 1-inch hail. So a few I can't English. Few instances of 1/2-inch to 1-inch hail is possible. Yeah, and then this stuff in Indiana is over. It actually finished earlier than I thought. Remember, I said about 10 o'clock this stuff should be sub-severe. It's actually sub-severe at 9 o'clock. So it ended a bit earlier than I was thinking. And again, as for Chicago, most of you guys are just going to get some gusty winds, heavy rain, and a few lightning strikes. You have to be pretty unlucky to get inside these batches here of 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. There's only a few little areas where we'll actually see the chance for those gusts of 60 mile an hour winds. Only a few people will be hit by those. So most of those in Chicago will see gusty winds of 30 miles per hour, heavy rain, and lightning. Well, doesn't surprise me, V. I'm about to head off here shortly, so have a great rest of your night. If you're able to, I will be live tomorrow, so you're very much welcome to tune in. I'll be live tomorrow somewhere between 4 and 6 p.m. Eastern. I'll be live. I wanted to go live at 3 o'clock, but like I said, something came up, so I'm going to have to push it to 4 o'clock. So, somewhere between 4 to 6 Eastern, I'll be live tomorrow. And I'll only be live for probably an hour or two, unless it uptrends, which we'll see. It's way past my bedtime. Yep. As a kid, you hate the bedtime. Then as an adult, you wish it was back. Used to hate going to sleep at 9 o'clock when I was a kid. But now, even though I'm just barely still an adult, 9 o'clock, I would love to go to bed that early, but my body will just not go to sleep. It has to be like my body just can't go to sleep unless it's past like 11:30 or midnight. Unless I am absolutely exhausted, which to go to sleep before 11:30 p.m. takes a lot for me. Let me see how far that HRRR has gotten out to. It's at 16Z on Friday. We'll actually be able to see the first few frames. Might as well stay live just a little bit longer, because those first few frames are almost already in. Yeah, it's already out to 1 o'clock, so... might as well wait. No point in ending a few more, literally like 10 minutes before we get the newest information for tomorrow on the HRRR. Might as well stay live. This is for 1 o'clock here. Let's just see if we could spot the difference. Well, that sucks. There's no big change, which means the HRRR is probably going to be the same garbage model that it was earlier. We'll see. Yep, it literally looks like it's on track to do the same garbage. So, probably going to just toss this run in the trash, unless it shows something substantially different on simulated reflectivity, which it's the HRRR, it probably will. A lot of overconvection. Big difference in the NAM and the HRRR. But they still relatively both have overconvection across the northern warm sector. We'll have to watch that, but I don't think it will play a huge role in it. As long as that overconvection doesn't get into like right in here, I think the risk will be relatively the same because that's where our main warm sector is going to be located. For tomorrow. All right, let's go back to our current radar. Again, just not really a lot happening here. Just, I mean, shoot. We're down to 2 severes. We are down to 2 severes. 2 severes and 0 tornado warnings. This is the most inactive that it has been all day. Ever since I started live streaming. I mean, even when I started my first live stream really earlier on today, I'm pretty sure we had more severes than this. That is something. All right, I'm going to grab my backup water bottle real quick. I'm going to need it. Have a backup water bottle just in case. I don't drink it unless I'm out of water and it's towards the end of a stream. That way I ain't got to get up and go get a new one. I'm so tired, go to sleep. Go to sleep. As V just demonstrated, you can, if you want to, keep the live stream up and just go to sleep. It's very easy to fall asleep to someone who's just yapping. As long as they ain't screaming in your ear. It's background noise, like white noise. Yep, the HRRR is going to do the same garbage. It's going to have absolutely nothing along the warm front. Almost a, Okay, we did see an uptrend in instability. It is an uptrend in instability. Downtrend in mid-level wind shear. And a downtrend in lower level wind shear. So where you've uptrended is in the thermodynamics and downtrended a bit in the kinematics. Alright, see you later, Critty. Thank you for tuning in. You ain't gonna miss much. I won't be live for too much longer anyways. I just want to see this HRRR. Like I said, we're so close to seeing the rest of it, so why not just wait a little bit? And plus, I don't have anything to do at this moment. Let me see. If that is in southeastern Wisconsin, you are perfectly fine. There's some lightning and heavy rain, but the tornado threat is gone. There was actually a tornado warning literally on the opposite side of the border. You're in southeastern Wisconsin. There was a tornado warning in northeastern Illinois. Not that far from you at all. Not too long ago. But yeah, the main threat has concluded. Really, the only thing we're watching is the storm in Chicago. And that's it. There's actually, like, literally nothing else to keep an eye on. Arkansas, that's far eastern Arkansas. You're good. You were in the risk for some isolated thunderstorms today, and you actually still are. There's still some thunderstorms around your area, but the main tornado threat is considerably well off to your north. That's in northeastern Illinois. There is a storm that's heading your way that could produce very heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and maybe 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So be careful for that in about 40 minutes or so. Just be mindful of that, but I doubt that will be a tornado threat. Haley, there is a risk for strong tornadoes tomorrow. Right now, you're barely outside of it, but you could be put into it with the outlook tomorrow. So I would stay hyper weather aware and keep a very close eye on the weather tomorrow. It's a very tricky situation because the HRRR is still saying that tomorrow will be a absolute nothing burger. Nothing notable will happen. Just a brief tornado threat, 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail possible, a very low-wind threat, like a marginal risk type of threat. So there is a chance that you could see a strong tornado tomorrow in and around that area. Tomorrow late afternoon, early evening, probably close to around the 6 o'clock time frame. But there's also a chance that you literally get nothing more than light to moderate rain. We'll just see how things trend tomorrow morning. So at the moment, I would say most likely 50, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible, half-inch hail, and maybe a brief tornado. That is, if that's in Illinois, you are clear from severe weather today. You already went through your biggest severe threat if that's in Western Illinois. Just some isolated heavy rain tonight, but the main severe threat is over. James, thank you for becoming an EF1 member. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel more than you already do. I really appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a member. All right. Pez, so you live out here near the Java Sea. Why does it always take me out here when I click for that zip code? I love that. There's some storms to your southwest right now. You got to get some rain. Have fun with that. If he has to work outside, it's a little dangerous because of the lightning. But really, it's nothing more than just heavy rain. There's no tornado threat right now. Tornado threat is gone. So he should be fine as long as he's not staying outside for like long. Christian, I know there was a tornado warning there, 2 tornado warnings, I believe, in that area, but I haven't heard anything about a touchdown in that region. But there was 2 tornado warnings earlier. Pez, as for Saturday, I already mentioned what I thought for Saturday. Again, I think they'll connect the 2 marginal risks for severe weather, and we'll probably end up with a slight risk somewhere up in here. Hail threat will be limited only to any embedded supercells inside of a line. Main risk will be 60 to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and can't rule out a brief tornado or 2. Closer we get, the more we'll know exactly where that slight risk will be placed, but I'm generally thinking eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, southwestern New York. You'll most likely be perfectly fine tomorrow as well. You are very close to that slight risk, I believe. Or actually, no, you're up in Chicago. North of Chicago. You'll be perfectly fine. There's a risk for some rain and lightning overnight, but no severe weather tomorrow. For some reason, I thought that was western Illinois, not northeastern. All right, let's see the rest of this HRRR run. Yep, it still is calling for a nothing burger. So we've got two models that are saying tomorrow is going to be a pretty good severe threat with widespread 40 to 60 mile an hour wind gust, some gust up to 70, a few instances of 1-inch hail, and a few tornadoes, maybe even an isolated strong one in northern Missouri and southern Iowa. But then there is the HRRR that is just saying a few gusts of 30 miles per hour, the isolated severe 60 mile an hour winds, maybe 1-inch hail, and maybe a spin up tornado. HRRR is just a considerably lower threat for tomorrow. HRRR still does have a conditional strong tornado threat, but it is extremely conditional. And I don't see it panning out on this model run. You are good from severe weather. There is likely going to be some heavy rain and some rumbles of thunder overnight, but severe weather is finished for that area. Park Ridge, you're experiencing a severe thunderstorm right now. So most likely you've experienced about 30 mile an hour wind gusts. There actually could have been some gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour near you. And, yeah, main tornado risk, though, is done. So just don't go outside for, like, a couple more minutes, and you'll be fine. Not like you're going to go outside, though, at, what time is it over there? Like 8:26? But, yeah, main tornado threat is finished, thankfully. Again, we did have a tornado warning. Like, what, like a county to your north, so close call, but like I said, haven't heard of a tornado touchdown to the county to your north, but there was a tornado warning or two up there earlier. Actually, I don't think this tornado season will be too crazy. So far, it's been exactly what I expected, and a very, very active March. And then I think April will be less active, and I think May will be very inactive. And then I think we'll pick up with some tornado activity in June. And then July, things will start to tamper off, but the wind threat will still be high in July. We'll probably end up with a few risks for damaging winds. And then late July, early August, our severe threat collapses, and that's the end of it. Tornado season's over. I mean, if you want to be technical, our peak tornado season is actually in late March through April, May, and into very early June. But you can still see frequent severe weather events from early March all the way till mid-July, roughly. So for severe weather and tornadoes, I'm typically looking at early March all the way until the end of July. And, August, that's your isolated severe threat. But August, September, October, November, December, January, February, those are all relatively inactive months of severe weather. That's half the year right there. Now, you do have second season that could pick up. And with us going into a pretty strong El Nino, I wonder if that's going to favor potentially a little bit more active second season than what we saw like last year. Last year, second season was dead. We only had like 1 or 2 severe threats in second season in late 2025, early 2026. But yeah, I think that's gonna pretty much conclude it. That last area that someone just said in chat there, you're good. You're in a severe thunderstorm warning, but the severe storm has already passed. So just maybe don't go outside for a few more minutes as the lightning is still in the area. But you should be perfectly fine. Yeah, same for that area. I would watch for a storm that should go just to your north here in about an hour. Maybe some lightning, but nothing too crazy. And same for that region as well. Just watch for some lightning in about 30 minutes or so. 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but the main threat has concluded for your area as well. Just keep an eye on that storm there. See it's heading right towards you, but nothing severe or tornadic out of it. But all right, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude. We've been live, by the time we end, it will be 3 hours, plus the hour live stream earlier today. So we did about 4.5 hours of coverage today. I will be back for tomorrow's severe weather event. We have a enhanced risk for tomorrow, so I'll be back for at least an hour or two for that. The National Weather Service did also go ahead and downgrade this severe thunderstorm warning for Wilmington, Illinois to a normal severe. So no longer a significant severe there. But that's going to be it. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream with your family, friends, social media. Consider hitting that subscribe button so you know when I go live tomorrow. I'm generally thinking between 4 and 6 p.m. Eastern time I'll be live tomorrow. So I look forward to talking to you guys then. And depending on how that risk plays out, we may be live for 1 to 2 hours, or we may be live for multiple hours tomorrow. It just simply depends if that risk ends up performing like the HRRR, which would be a big underperformance, or closer to like the NAM3K and the RRFSA, which shows a much more significant threat for severe weather tomorrow. But once again, that is going to be it. I appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat, and everybody for being here today. I appreciate it. Stay safe, watch the severe weather, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Stay safe, Watch the severe weather. Thank you, Monster Mon chat, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream. Have a great rest of your night. Goodbye.